Again, like you've mentioned, we have a very big special guest today. We have Colin Sahlman of NAU, who's been just an absolute stud for the Lumberjacks this indoor season already. He's currently ranked among the top athletes in the NCAA in the mile behind his 3:53.17 winning performance at the BU John Thomas Terrier Classic a few weeks ago. He's also shown off some incredible range, 147 in the 800, 748 for 3K as well so far this indoor season. Colin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Obviously, it's been quite the indoor season for you so far. How have you been feeling about this indoor season so far and how it's gone for you?
I'm really happy with this indoor season. I mean, it's definitely a lot better than last year. Last year I had a lot of bumps in the roads, a lot of like injury sickness, but it's just been a super huge, consistent, like just training block. And consistency just leads to great results because, I mean, you don't have much interruption, so you have a lot to build off of. And I'm just super happy with the results and just been focusing on competing and just having a good time.
I love that. Consistency leads to great results. I need to frame that quote somewhere. That's really awesome. And I feel like that kind of just speaks to the team that you're running with, especially with the Lumberjacks over the last several years in cross country and even the distance events. You guys have really been putting y'all's name out there. What do you think has been the key to NAU's success over the last several years, and especially since you've been a part of this team for some time?
From what I've seen, being here for like a year and a half now, we don't really focus on results, really. We don't focus on outcomes. We focus on like the process to get there and competing within the race, because anyone can like picture like, oh, like we want to win a national championship. Like, of course, yeah, that's what we want to do, but that's not what we talk about. We talk about like what we're going to do like inside the race. Like, for example, like in cross country nationals, like we'll talk about like, what are we going to do when it gets hard? Just like stick on a group and just like stay with them, or just like pretty much just find a teammate and just grind with them for like the next 3-4K or so. And it's really about like making a good race plan and competing within the race that will lead to those results. And I think that's what we live by, and we're more of a process based program instead of like outcome focused. So
I actually want to follow up a little bit on what you said in that first question that we had, where you're talking about, over this past year and a half, you've been dealing with injuries and stuff like that. And finally, you feel like you're finding some consistency, especially for someone like you. As we all know, we work with Mile Split too. Like you were, at the top of your game, toward the end there in high school, setting records and everything like that. Do you feel like there was some sort of pressure then going into NAU and trying to immediately go out there and, find those results that you wanted, and then having those hiccups? Like, how did you kind of balance that to now where you're at now and, being very successful?
Yeah, I'd say last year I definitely gave in to like a lot of that pressure, like that outside noise, and was just like, because I was like this really good high schooler, so I was like expected to do really big things like right away in college. And I found that wasn't really the case. Like, yeah, I had like some pretty good races, but it wasn't necessarily like the expectations of what other people were like saying I could do. And then, there were people out there saying like, oh, he's not as good, or like he won't like do this. And I kind of gave into that a little bit last year, but this year was like just a huge focus on just like blocking out all that noise. Like I have learned just to not care at all about what people say, and just really focus on what I'm doing like with my team and what I'm doing in training and like what we talk about. And I think blocking out all like that outside noise has just been so perfect this season, because I'm just focusing on me and what I want to do on the track, and who cares what people say, because I'm having a great season. So
I love it.
The haters can hate,
Yeah,
exactly.
As you said, and we mentioned too, like you've shown off some range this season. I mean, you've gone 147 in the 8, 353 in the mile, 740 in the 3K. You've also gone 48.99 in the 400. So like, you're developing that range. And so I'm curious, like, what's training been like for you to kind of be able to tap into all that and kind of fluctuate between the different distances?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of like natural speed, so we don't really tap into speed as much. We've mostly been focusing on like strength based, like a lot of threshold workouts, and just trying to get my strength up. I think that really helped with my 3K, a 748. I still think I have a little more room to go because I was kind of hurt and falling off a little bit at the end, but it's just been fun. Like just we tap into like a little bit of speed, like maybe we'll do like 200s at the end of a workout or something just to just hit it, but we don't really do too much like just speed workout. And I think it's just fun I think the speed workouts for me were like the 400s up here in the dome, like just racing them. It was just fun, and just racing against sprinters and just seeing what I can do. And I mean, I just think I have a lot of natural speed, and it's fun to just play with that sometimes.
Yeah. Let's take a closer look at that. Your mile performances over this indoor season: 4:10 in mid-January, 4:03 a week later, and then you drop a 3:53. And I just remember you crossing the finish line, putting number 1 up in the air. Can you talk to us and walk us through how you felt during that race and just how you've been progressing, how that just has been clicking for you over the last several weeks?
Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations going into that race. I didn't even look at the field. I remember walking out on the start line being like, "Oh shoot, am I the only college guy in here?" And then I saw one BYU guy out there, and I was just like, "All right." I didn't even look at the field. I was just excited to race and just try and beat as many people as possible, and ended up coming away with the win. I definitely made a few tactical errors in there. Just looking back, I should have been like sticking on people more, but it's definitely a good learning experience, and I actually felt really good with about 2 laps to go, and I decided to just to make a move on that and try and get up there, and then ended up catching the leader. And then I just remember being like so excited winning the race. I just like threw up a celebration. I was like, "Holy crap, like I just did that." And it was just a really fun race, and because I had no idea where I was at, and then to see the clock say 3:53, I was like, "This is an amazing PR," and I'm really happy where I am right now.
Now I want you to compare that to running 4:03 at like 7,000 feet of elevation. How did those different ones feel? Because obviously you'd get the conversion down. I believe it was like 3:57 or something, 4:03 at 7,000 feet. But like, compare the two performances from like, the 3:53 that you ran at sea level, and then having to, running that race at altitude as well.
Yeah, altitude, it's definitely a different beast for sure. It hurts like almost immediately, like within the first 400, and you just have to trust that you can hold that. And I don't know. It's just once you run an altitude, like a mile at altitude, like you'll know what I'm talking about. It hurts right off the bat, and it's just a grind to get through the whole thing. And at sea level, I mean, sometimes you'll just feel great, feel better, but altitude, oh man, that that hurts. But it's definitely good because once you know that feeling of hurting early, like you can keep that, and it's really nice to have that feeling, knowing that feeling at sea level, knowing that you can just keep the grind going.
Colin, I want to follow up on something you just said about tactics. You said you made a mistake in a previous race. What have you learned about tactics since you have arrived in college and kind of learned the process of what racing is about at this level?
Yeah, I would say like especially for like championship style races, like to get out more towards like the middle or like the middle front of the race instead of like getting stuck in the back or like fighting to get boxed in. You like to have a lot of open track, I'd say, so you can make more moves, and also just sticking on the person right in front of you. That's something that's like the error I was talking about in this race, was like sometimes I'd let like a little gap and then someone would sneak in and then I'd get pushed back one more. So I'm still learning, I'm still working on that, but yeah, just pretty much focusing on just like trying to stick right on the person in front of me, and then just focusing on how the race is being run, and how I can move and how I can close based off how the race is being run. So it's a lot of thinking in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of learning, everyone knows you graduated from Newbury Park. I feel like everyone is just like super excited about that, and just we were able to watch Newbury Park evolve into this historic team, and you happen to be a part of it as well. What has been the biggest lesson that you learned as a high school runner in California?
Ooh, I'm not really sure. I feel like back then I didn't really, I mean, I knew what I was doing, but not like, I feel like I've learned a lot more here.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I learned in high school was just like not to put like limits on yourself. I think that's a really big thing that Coach Brosnan taught us, is just like don't put limits on yourself. Just go out there and just like see what you can do. Like if people like don't put a barrier at 4 minutes in the mile. Like see how far you can break past that. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned in high school. And then coming into college, it's just like even more, just like see how far you can break past it and just see how consistent you can be. And it's just been, yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot the past 2 years here for sure.
Now, speaking of Newbury Park, you're also not the only Sahlman on the NAU team. Talk a little bit about, having your brother Aaron there too as well, and having him join the team as well.
Yeah, it's super fun having him. Like, yeah, we're having a blast. He's doing really well in training right now. We're training together, we run together. It's really fun to have him here. He's in the dorms right now. He's got to do his time there. So sometimes, like, yeah, we'll go hang out with the guys there and just, like, visit them in the dorms, or like go to the dining hall with them. But yeah, it's just really fun to have him on the team, and just keep each other accountable, keep each other motivated, and we're always there for each other. So it's good to have him right there.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a team that trains together also recovers together. So speaking of recovery, I know you're an ambassador for Firefly, and they're one of our partners as well. And we just love their technology that they offer. Can you tell us more about Firefly and how it's helped you with your post-recovery after a really hard training session, or even after a big meet?
Yeah, I mean, I love to use Firefly, especially after races, or like when we have to travel. Like, cause like when I went to Boston, it's like almost a 5-hour flight. So it's good to just, like, after the race, just, like, literally on the plane, just sit there and watch a movie, and just strap them onto your leg. Like, it's just such a small, like, easy device that you can just, like, pretty much fit in, like, your pocket or your backpack. So it's really nice just to have it while traveling. I'd say I think travel, I use them the most. And I just, like, I'll have them on the plane watching a movie, just, like, my feet are fluttering and blood flow is increasing by 400%. So yeah, it's really, I really love the product, and I think it definitely helps me recover after races. And even before races, I'll even throw them on, like, on the plane to the race. So
Awesome.
I know we've tried out Firefly, and I think I know I sat around the office just letting them run for hours. It's definitely an interesting product. So very cool. Speaking of, we're in February right now, obviously. We're kind of approaching indoor championships in a couple weeks, and just all around American distance running has especially been, I feel like, on a pedestal, right? We've seen so many great performances. For example, I mean, at Milrose Games this weekend, we saw a bunch of American records go down. Have you been paying attention to, I guess, maybe just the state of American distance running, where it is right now, and like how, maybe like how you hope to someday, be a part of that as well?
yeah, I mean, our sport's definitely picking up right now. I'd say even more so than, like, the last few years. Like, people are just running insane times. And I mean, I think right now to get into, like, the top 16 for the mile in the NCAA is like 3:54. Like, that's the fastest it's ever been. And you have to learn to grow with the sport and what it's doing right now. But I think right now, like, a lot of people can run fast times, and a lot of people can time trial, but I think when it comes down to it, like, half those people don't really know how to championship style race. So I think that's what we like to do. That's what we like to focus on here at NAU, is, like, yeah, like, we like to run fast, but we also like to focus on competing and to win instead of just running fast. Like, anyone can run in a line, but it's like, how can you move up? How can you make moves? How can you actually race? I think is the most important part. I think that's what you have to learn to grow in this sport and focus on these championship style races.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of championships, I feel like Colin's just like pitching me to the next question. You've been doing a great job of that. So what are your goals as we kind of approach the Big Sky Conference Championships, which will be next week for y'all, and also the NCAA Indoor Championships in about a month?
Yeah, the Big Sky Championships, that's a really important meet for us. We like to run as many people as we can there. It's just pure, it's like just the pure sport of competing. Like, we have a lot of, I mean, like, being a part of NAU, like, we're in the Big Sky, we're, like, supposed to be, like, number one, like, the top team. But that also puts a lot of pressure, because all these other teams, like Montana State, like, they are super tough. Like, they have nothing to lose. They'll just come after us with, like, all they have. And it just keeps us humble and keeps us really focused on the core of just competing in the race, and just, like, don't underestimate anybody, and just go out there and race. And I think that's a huge, really good practice for something like the NCAA meet, like the indoor national meet, just focusing on racing and just beating bodies.
Now, before we hand this off to Corey with some chat questions, we have one final question for you. Very tough question. We ask all of our guests a variation of this question. Obviously, being a distance guy, you run cross country, indoor and outdoor. Which of those seasons is your favorite and why?
Ooh, I'd say probably just from over the years, I think outdoor has been my favorite. I just love just like the 400-meter track. I don't know. I just love touching miles or like 1500s on the outdoor track. I think I love the 1500. It's my favorite event. So I don't know. Something about outdoor, especially at night outdoor races are really fun.
Love it. All right, Corey, what's popping off in the chat?
All right, we have a few questions, Colin, here for you. I think you kind of alluded to what your goals are this season, but All in the Game asks, what are your plans for the Olympic trials? The 1,500-meter standard is 3:37, I believe. I mean, are you going to go after an A standard, and what's your plans for the trials?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that too much. We were just really focusing on like in the moment right now, but I think it's definitely something to consider. Like, I would love to go like sub 336, like 335, 334 if I can. I really want to focus on that event. And the main focus would be, I think, NCAA's outdoor. But if I'm in a really good spot, I would definitely love to do the trials for sure.
All right, one more question from Thomas Anderson. Is Mike Smith as cool and zen in person as it seems he is?
Yeah, I'd say even more so. He's just like a super, super cool guy, super laid back, chill guy. And it's just like, yeah, he's a really funny coach. He gets along with everybody, but definitely don't piss him off. So that's what I've learned. Yeah, I mean, workouts, like if you're not doing what he wants you to, yeah, you're. Ooh. But yeah, he's a really cool guy. I love him as a coach. He's definitely helped me grow as an athlete and as a person. So he's probably, well, he's in my opinion the best coach out there.
Love it. Corey, do we have any other questions in the chat?
I mean, you already asked about Aaron. I'm curious, didn't your brother just cut his hair too? Who cuts hair at NAU?
Yeah, we have a guy on the team, Aiden Barnhill. Barney blends. He likes to cut everybody on the team's hair. Like, well, he says like he'll do it for free, but we usually give him like $15-20 just because he's just like the team barber. And I don't know, Aaron went up to him. He's like, I want to shave my head. I was like, oh geez. I was like, this is a bad idea, but all right, Aaron, you do you. But yeah, he even cut my hair. This is Barney blends. So he's yeah, he's really good. He's getting a lot better, and if you're ever in Flagstaff, you can always DM him and he'll blend you up. So
there you go.
Good to know. Good
Love
to
it.
know.
Good to know.
Awesome. Well, Colin, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate seeing you, and we can't wait to see what the rest of this indoor and outdoor season looks for you. So best wishes to you. Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.